Good afternoon, everybody. How you doing? Wee Paddy from across the shuck, and you're very welcome back to the channel. So today I was going to do a video on this knife. I was just sitting down here thinking about what I was going to say about this knife, and it's the Spyderco Manix 2, and it is beautiful. I like everything about this knife, and there's plenty of reviews out there for people who want to see it. This has got a modern clip put on it. And I say modern because Spyderco have been using their clips for donkey's years. I don't know why they don't go into modern clips. I mean, they do the wire clips. Why not do, a modern clip like this, this deep carry? And this one is incredibly deep carry, which is perfect for the country that I'm in. And for me, anyway, I don't particularly like people knowing what I've got in my pocket. So this is perfect. In that sense, let's talk about this for a wee second because it is such a good knife. This is a big knife. It hasn't got a long blade or a long cutting edge to it, but it's a big knife. It's great for, it's well constructed. There's plenty of jimping on here, right round the whole knife. Beautifully opens up. You can use the thumb hole, but it has a ball lock, which to me is just 10 times better than the top lock that Spyder use. I just think this one is just so beautiful. You can adjust, you can bring it back. You don't have to go anywhere near the blade, and you have a full grip. You're secure in gripping it. I mean, look at that bounce. That's just me not being under the camera. That's the way it normally goes in, and I just let it go at the right time. But it's a tremendous knife. Good stock on it, not super thick, because you don't want super thick on a pen knife. And although this is a larger knife, not a pen knife as such, but it's great. It hasn't got a delicate point, but it's got a really good point. The blade is full flat ground. It's an amazing slicer for such a big knife. Takes a really wicked edge. This was an S110V, which I do like. I've had before in a UK PK. Lasts for ages, great edge retention on it, just a super work knife. Now, when I was thinking of what I was going to say, because I live in the UK, we have this issue, we're not allowed locking knives. You can use it if you've got a reason for it, like if you're a joiner, a workman that's out there and you need a knife, that you can carry this. But for those who don't have that, it's illegal to carry this outside the house. We can have them, but it's illegal to carry outside. Now, there you go. That says a whole lot. That's the most stupid rule I've ever heard in my life. But anyhow, let's not go down that route, although I probably will slip into it. Anyhow, this is a lovely knife. Now, its cutting edge is just under 3 inches, which is not huge for the size of a knife it is. Let's get you an overall size of it. The overall size is... it's a full 8-inch knife, but it's only got a cutting edge of 3 inches. So that's not big, but it'll do every job you want to do. Every EDC job you want, this will do it. And a lot of that is backed up by having a security lock. Whatever you want to call them, to me, they're a security lock. It just means that you've got that extra security in case you are careless. Now, there's where I'm going to stop at that. Being careless with a knife is not a good thing. And if you've only ever been used to locking knives, you're used to being careless with a knife, not worrying about what way you use it, not worrying about what cuts you do. And that's where the danger comes in with a slip joint. Whereas I was brought up with a slip joint, not as fancy as this, but I was brought up with slip joints. I got used to using slip joints. And I can genuinely tell you, in all the time I've been using knives, I've been cut more with these than I have with these. And that's just genuine truth. Now, taken away when I was 9, 10-year-old playing with them, I cut myself lots of times, but never seriously. The most serious cut I've ever had was a fixed blade. And that went down right down the top of my thumb, down to about here. You can see my thumb is still not, you can see where it went in. It went right down to the bone, and it was flapping open. That was a fixed blade, and I was being careless. So I think you're maybe going to get the reasoning behind why I don't find it as important to have a locking knife, and why that after years of buying these type of knives, locking knives, I'm down to about 6 good ones that I want to keep for me because they're knives that I like. But it's not because of security, it's because they're knives that I like. Here is another knife that is smaller. This one is, let me just show you the size, probably about an inch smaller, I would say. Yeah, this is a 7-inch knife. It's a 7-inch knife, but there we go. There's the cutting edge, and there's about 1/4 of an inch difference in the cutting edge. Now, will this knife do any more than this knife? Honestly, I don't think so at all. The blade stock is not that dissimilar. This one actually has, there we are. Well, it's not even that much thinner of a tip. This is a super slicey knife. It's got that slicey blade on it, you see. So you've got that sort of the flat spot here, and then but it goes up the way, so you've got the full cutting edge there. It's just, is one sharper than the other? Not really that I can tell by any other means than sticking, machinery on it to tell me. They both cut incredibly well. Super knives. Oh, super knives. There you are. That's carelessness. Super knives. This is more expensive than this, but not that much more. When especially if you buy these second hand. Now this is a Hinder Slippy Slicer, which is just an amazing knife. An amazing knife. Now, when I'm using this or I'm using this, do I feel any more secure with either one of the two? No, I genuinely don't, because I've picked a knife. This is a work knife for me. I picked a knife that I know is secure in my hands no matter what I'm doing. Now, this has a forward choil up here, right? So this knife, even if I was to pull back, sometimes we pull back and a folding knife will collapse in on itself. You'll go this way, right? You'll just go down that way. But this one, you've got the clearance. Maybe if you're not holding it correctly with this finger, you might get a little poke with there, but it's not going to be anything serious. But that lock stops you doing it. Even here, if I'm using it here, when it closes, look at the gap. It's so well engineered that when I push hard, and I'm pushing hard, look at my thumb, I'm pushing hard, it's not going to cut me. So security wise, I don't feel this is any less secure than this is, because bad use on any knife will cause you to cut yourself. But I think the advantage maybe, and this is the thing, the advantage those of us in this country have is that we're used to slip knives. So we are more careful when you're using knives. And it's just it's because we've always been used to slip knives that we're more careful. We tend not to do things that's going to make a blade close on us, because we've all had a nick or two over time that it soon makes you stop doing it. But as far as a work knife goes, honestly, there's not much between these. I like this because it's got a longer reach. It's a bigger knife. It feels great in my hand for when I'm doing hard use. This has a fantastic grip in my hand. I can grip down here for hard use, but it's not, you can see the difference. It's not as good as this. And that's why I bought this knife, because I wanted to have a bigger knife in my collection. I've got small Sebenza 31. Fantastic knife. Just absolutely love it. I love everything about it. I like the lock on it. I like everything about it. But not having a slip joint in your collection, not getting used to using a slip joint, and that goes for people over here. A lot of people over here don't use knives or didn't use knives before they come into YouTube. Always be proficient with a slip joint, because you just never know. If that lock goes and you're out somewhere, you're snookered. You're absolutely snookered, where this lock can't go because there is none. So it's always going to be there. I can tape this up, put something around it, tape it up to keep it open. But having the ability to use something that could close on you is if you're a knife person, it's one of the most basic things to learn, is how to use a knife. So, I mean, if this broke, say the lock went on it, right? I have no lock on here. I can literally wrap paracord or whatever around there, so that in that piece there, this will lock it roughly, but it's not going to be great. It's just going to use it. So, but if I use this as a slip joint in the same way as I use this, I could get away with it. I could get away with it in the wild. I know I could put something around here that's going to give me a knife to carry on working, because the back lock hasn't broke. It's just, say your lock breaks, or this, you know, this isn't a spring, but it's a ball bearing. But so that's, people talk about the you know, the apocalypse and things going to happen. What knife are you going to take with you? I would rather have this with me than this, to be perfectly honest, because there's less that can go wrong with this. Much less that can go wrong with it. I don't have to worry about a lock breaking. And locks do break, especially if you're putting them to bad use. They can break. Some of the locks, like Benchmades, have springs and all in them. I want something like this, a Hinderer 20 CV, maybe not as long edge retention, but that doesn't matter. It's easier sharpened, especially if you're, you know, in a situation where you mightn't have all your sharpening gear. I can sharpen this on a rock. So that's what I wanted to get onto, that I like these just because this is a big knife, and even just for something as thick cardboard, I would tend to take this down with me before this, because this will cut through it better than the smaller knife. So that's why I like having a big knife. And I picked this one. It's taken me ages to pick a big working knife, because every time I've got a big knife, I like them for a while and then I just sell them on, because I'd find out I just don't use them as often as I should. But I wanted to have one. I've none in my collection until I got this one, a large knife. And I love this knife. The size is perfect. The blade's a perfect size. I don't need longer than a 3-inch cutting edge to do anything. To do anything, that'll do me absolutely fine. I like the ball lock. I like the way it closes. And you know, if it bounces up, you just keep the lock pulled down and it'll fall back in. So again, the other lock that you get on the top of most Spydercos, I'm not a keen. It always feels insecure when I'm doing that. So, but I do love this knife. I have to say, I've been using it and really been enjoying it, especially with thick cardboard, which, to be honest, is the most things I'm going to use. I ordered a big trolley, like a gardening trolley you can pull behind you. And it came in an ultra thick box, and I have to cut that up yet, but I'll take this down when I'm doing it. Whereas before, if I just had this, I probably would have took a fixed blade down, because it's genuinely really thick cardboard. And having the joy of having multiple knives, as we do in this community, is you take the knife most suited to the job. A nice thin bladed fixed blade. I mean, here's a small fixed blade, but I mean, this would do the job, no problem whatsoever. This only has this has got about a 2 3/4 inch blade. So again, you're seeing it's a much smaller knife, but there you go. Did I say 2 3/4? No, 2 1/4 inch, 2 1/4 inch blade. But this will do cutting up a cardboard box. There's not a problem, because it's good thick stock. I mean, the stock is about the same as that, but it will do all the jobs I want as far as cutting goes. So that's enough said about them 3 knives. But I wanted to talk about, you know, safety, and having that forward choil to me is a great safety thing. If you're at all worried, using the forward choil. Plus it lets you get up nice and close to work that you want to. But I've got some other things here that I want to show you. I've other knives here. This is the UKPK. This is the drop point version, which I just think I love. I know people say Spydercos are ugly, but I just think that blade looks interesting. You know, rather than the new leaf shape one. This was the old blade on the UKPK. I love it, and I'm so glad they've got it. They're still making it. It's such a lovely blade, an amazing slicer. But it has that Spyderco forward lock again, so it'll never close on you. It'll nip you, but it'll never close on you. Completely safe to use. And it's a great knife to have. I mean, I can only get 3 fingers on if I go back here. But if I need that extra reach, that's quite comfortable. Do you know what I mean? That's quite comfortable. The only thing with this is it might stop at the half stop, but if you're going forcefully, it will come back. So if you're doing anything with force, you learn to get up here. This is just an amazing pocket knife. And whether you're in the UK, the US, Australia, anywhere. I would recommend this knife as an EDC knife to anybody. This one's an S30V. This was the Heine Haynes special. So you got the G10 scales, which are lovely. You've got the deep carry clip. This is a super pocket knife, full stop, for anybody to have and use. And if you're trying to get into slip joints, maybe you haven't, you're not in the UK and you've been used to locking knives, but you want to try a slip joint, every time, Spyderco just nailed that. That is an amazing knife, an amazing knife. And here's another knife, CRKT. This is the Pilar. Again, this is a non-locking version of the Pilar, and we all know how good this knife is. And this is a real budget knife. I mean, these are under 100, and we can buy these for 60 quid on the second-hand market. But this is a relatively inexpensive, in fact, it's very inexpensive knife for what it is. 8CR13, but it has that forward choil, which again gives you security and safety. And with that forward choil, I can get all 4 fingers in this, but I mean, it's a super little knife. Slip joint, another highly recommended knife. And if you want to go the traditional route, my recommendation to somebody who's never had a traditional knife, that's a slip joint, if you're going to start with an Arthur Wright, and start with an Arthur Wright model that is a strong pull. Now, this is not ultra strong. This is only about a 7.5 maybe, but it locks up fantastically well. You have to really push that hard to get it to bend. This is the Tackler, the same as our club knife's going to be. This is the Tackler in Iki wood, which is a real great hardwood. Rosewood was a hardwood, but it's becoming too expensive to buy now. So Iki wood is a replacement that Arthur Wright have. It's actually harder than rosewood, and its longevity it doesn't be susceptible to damp and wetness. It's just an all-round. Bugs don't the bugs don't go on the trees and eat it, because it's just a real good hardwood. This is a perfect knife. And again, let me just bring it up here. There is the blade difference. So you're going to get about 1/2 inch, 3/4. Oh, let me bring that down to you so you can see the blooming thing. About 1/2 inch, 3/4 inch. This one is nearly 2.5 inches cutting edge, which does everything. That length of blade is this is my main EDC knife. It's that's all I need in my day. Lots of people need more. I don't. I have not found myself short. I can adapt most knives to do what I want them to do. Even if it's a tiny knife, you can make it work. I mean, that's the joy of, being good, knowing your knives, knowing what your knife can do. And until you carry a slip joint like this and learn how to use it, learn what it can do, what it can't do, there's very little this can't do that I can find, other than chop down a tree. But I'm just talking about an EDC knife. I don't know anything so far that I've come across that I haven't been able to adapt to this knife. So you can go for this big lump here, which it has got its purpose for me. This is for doing hard tasks that I'm going to be, especially if I'm going to be using it for a long time. I've got that big grip. I can get on it. I feel secure. It feels comfortable, especially like, say, I was shaving bits off wood. This is the perfect knife for that. It is a super knife. These will all do the shaving of wood, but maybe not as elegantly as this was. And I'd rather take a bigger knife and do that. But if all else fails, if I think there's a hard task in hand, that's why we have fixed blades. We can get them at any size. This is an EDC size fixed blade, which is just super stocky. It'll do anything. If you want to bore anything, you want to poke into bags, this is what I will go for, rather than this even. Do you know what I mean? If I'm going to do a lot of poking, I don't know what you would be working at, but I mean that you're going to go in and you're going to knurl things. That's a fixed blade is the perfect knife to have. This has never let me down in anything I've wanted it to do. And even if I had to baton, I'd rather do it with a slip joint than I would with a lock, because you have a chance of breaking the lock if you're putting the wrong, if anybody has never done it, and I have, and I've done it so that I knew what it was like. If you're going to baton, break your knife, especially a locking knife, break it, then set it on and baton there, because that way you're not putting that pressure on the back lock. I don't know, you've never done it. It's worth trying, just so you know what you can do with your knife. And I think this is the most important thing about what I'm saying today. Know what the capabilities of your knives are, because then when it comes to it, you know what you can do, you know what you can't do. And that's safe. That's knife safety. And we don't probably talk an awful lot about knife safety. And knife safety, the biggest thing with knife safety, in my eyes, is knowing what you're capable of. And with the knife you've got in hand, what you would choose to take to do a certain job. A lot of them are just common sense things, but if you haven't used one or other, it's always nice to find out the capabilities. But I would say it's even more important to do that with a slip joint. You need to know what its capabilities are, what you would be cutting if it worried you. Choose another knife, or learn how to use this one safely. And that's just knowledge you get from experience. And like, no matter what in life, if you've got a bit of experience and you know what each knife does, it makes such a difference. Makes such a difference to your life. You then taking all the worry out. I never think, when I pick a slip joint up, I never think this doesn't have a lock. I just use it correctly because I always have all my life. For those brought up on locking knives, getting to know what each slip joint will do is an amazing thing to learn, because you just never know. It might be your only knife, and then you're snookered if you've never really used one. You never cut yourself. That's the important bit, is learning all them things with a pocket knife. And I'm maybe saying this to a lot of younger members or people that have just never used a lock. And like, people say that over here in the UK, it's stupid rules. Yeah, they are. They are stupid rules. But you want to know something? They're the rules. We don't have a bare arm, you can bear arms, anything wrote into our constitution like that. And the small amount of knife users you are over here, we're never going to change it. Never. It's not worth even thinking about. So get to know what you have, use it, and try different knives. And if somebody, you're meeting with somebody and they've got a different slip joint than you've used before, have a go at theirs. See what it's like. Keep doing that check-in. I mean, one of the easiest ways to check a slip joint and how you're using it is taking a traditional, right? And say you want to do some feather sticking. You can do it with this. It's not brilliant, but you can do it with it. You can get twigs off, you can get little slithers off the light of fire, no problem. But when you dig a knife into wood and it jams, this is where I think most people cut themselves with a slip joint, because they want to pull it out. And because you've no lock, this is free. So what happens is it breaks and it folds in on you and you get cut. You can see there, I'm going to get cut. So that is the thing, where if you see me, no matter what knife I've got in my hand, even if it's fixed blade, when you go into wood and it's stuck, don't pull it out. You just twist. Give it a wee quick twist, and that loosens it, and then it'll come out. And I do that because I've been doing that all my life. I do that naturally. I don't even have to think about it. But it takes a while to get where you're naturally, it's just a little twist. You're not batoned it in the wood, you put it in with your own force. So a little twist like that, and then pull your knife back out. Do another one, twist. And it's like, push it up. You'll see a lot of bushcrafters, they even do it with fixed blades. I do it with my fixed blade. Put it in, twist it like that, and that way you can pull your knife out safely if it's a slip joint. You're not worried if it's a fixed blade or a lock-in knife. But that's it. That's why I love a slip joint. It's just, you need to get used to them. And I just really want more people to get used to them, because if you want knives that are going to be, that are nearly indestructible, if you like, as far as just using for knife tasks, these don't have any sort of moving parts other than going around the pivot here. That's it. That's the only thing it's got on it. And if the blade becomes loose, you just wrap a pin with a rock or a hammer. It's such an amazing tool, a slip joint. Yes, they just happen to sort of emanate from this country, because we don't have lock-in knives. We just don't anymore, because they're illegal to use outside of your house. Most of us use our knives outside of our house as well. So get to know them, get to know all your knives, even your lock-in knives. Get to know what you can do with them. Get to know what size of wood you can baton with one of these in case you have to, in emergency. Get to know. It's just an art form of learning what your knife can do. So that when you take this, oh, I've batoned with a twig this size, and with a stick this size, I've batoned it, no problem. There you go. But break it first. Always remember to break. You don't ever really want to do that, but if you don't try it, you'll not know that it can do it. I think that's what I'm trying to say. Know what you can do rather than what you can't do in a knife. That's probably a lot of waffle, but I just felt to say that. I mean, yes, we can't have lock of knives over here, but it doesn't bother me that much. It annoys me because it's just futile and stupid. It makes no sense to ban a knife that's got a safe lock on it. It's just nonsense. Absolute nonsense when you can go out and buy a fixed blade. Do you know what I mean? Nonsense. But there we go. That is life. Just get used to it. Honestly, I never felt in any of my slip joints, especially these ones down here. These are just a great selection, and I'm big-headed saying that, but that's a great selection of 4 knives, 4 slip joints that will do absolutely anything. They'll all do anything. But if it's a tougher task, I'll take this one. Just because of the makeup of the knife, the handle sticker, I can get into it, whatever. But I can also just as easily reach for a fixed blade if I need it. This will do anything that will do up to a certain point, because if you want to hold it for a long time, you have that. There's a gap here. These wiggle. There isn't, and that's why you would use a bigger knife if you're doing long-term work. But as an EDC, absolutely perfect. Right, I'm gone. I'm waffling. Thank you so much for listening. I hope this was interest to you. Let me know down below if it is. Take care. Bye-bye now.